get that labor certification, then we can jump into immigration. And what's cool...
Because now you're authorized to work.
No.
No. Yeah, okay.
Not even. Not even.
This is the CLIMACO podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the CLIMACO podcast. Today's guest is an immigration lawyer, Liannys Morgan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Leo.
How are you?
Good, and you?
So excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
I've actually been wanting to talk to someone like you. We've had a lot of immigration issues in America. And me personally, I lived here illegally for 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I immigrated from Brazil when I was 7 years old to New York in 1995.
That's a change.
Yeah. And we lived here almost 11, it was 10 years. So I got here, I was 7. I got my green card. I was about to turn 17.
Perfect. So you didn't get to accumulate any illegal presence. That's amazing.
Yeah. My parents did.
Yes.
For
sure.
But I did not.
As long as you did it.
Correct. So that worked out great for me. So at 16, I got my green card. And the first thing I did was run to get my license.
Oh, yeah.
I needed a car so badly. I got my junior license at 16, got my full license at 17, and that changed my whole world, my whole life.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I got my junior license at 15.
Nice.
And then my license at 16.
Yes. It changed my life because I felt stuck. You know, I couldn't leave the country. I couldn't leave the state. I couldn't drive. Thank God I had the MTA in New York to take me wherever I wanted to. But other than that, I felt very stuck. And I remember our first trip to Brazil after getting our green cards. I was almost 18 at that point. Man, it was like a whole different world going there. Because I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
I was very young. To me, in my memory, things seemed bigger than they were. But I got there, I was so much bigger also. Yep. Everything was so much, the streets are smaller, the cars are smaller, everything is just so much smaller. And that was the moment I knew I was Americanized. And I was really no longer from Brazil.
Same. I had the same experience. I came very young. I came at 3.5 years old, brought over from Cuba. I'm Cuban. And we went back as soon as we actually got citizenship. And when I got back, but of course it's a little different than yours, the experience, because since I left so little, I had no memory. So when I go back, I also knew, and everyone's like, all right, she's really Americanized, but for the opposite reason, for the freedom I felt. And this is a complete...
That makes sense.
It's an oxymoron saying freedom and Cuba together, but it was the freedom of being a child that was different.
Yes.
And it was the fact that you're on vacation, number one. Number two, you eat dinner. And then 3, you go outside and play after you've already bathed and had dinner. And you can go outside and play.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
That's so crazy.
But that's the type of freedom as a child you felt. Now, the difference was you knew how Americanized you were when your parents had to warn you and mentally prepare you to go back because you don't have freedom of speech.
Right.
So it was pretty crazy hearing your parents say, I know you heard us speak this way. I know you know our opinions and you share the same. Because at that age, at 10 years old, you share the same opinion as your parents.
Right.
And to this day, it hurts me, the fact that my parents had to have that talk with me, because I've always been a very outspoken person, especially as a child, no filter.
That's why you're a lawyer.
And they had to tell me, don't mention anything about the government. No one's going to talk about it. Don't you dare bring it up. Wow. You're just here on vacation. Don't talk about it. Whoever brings it up, you have to keep your mouth shut. Do not give an opinion. Do not repeat anything we've ever said.
Wow.
And that was, to this day, it sticks
quite shocking, yeah.
Completely. No one brought it up. It was never an issue. At the airport, it was for a moment, and then we got through that hurdle. But the rest of the trip, I was able to enjoy as a child and enjoy what the freedom of being a child is.
Right.
You know, but not having freedom of speech, still to this day, I get chills. The fact that exists
Isn't that crazy?
in the 21st century is just nuts.
I agree. Did you speak Spanish at 10 years old?
100%.
Yeah. So you're able to understand everything. You're able to.
Oh yeah. I never lost Spanish.
Good.
Thankfully. I was never one of those children that only spoke Spanish, got into the school system, lost Spanish, and then my parents speak to me in English. No, that never happened. My parents never spoke to me in English. So the only way you communicate with your parents and your grandparents are in Spanish. Either you learned it or you learned it.
Right. It's the best way.
And it only got better. And I guess it also helped having my type of personality.
Yeah.
That I loved it. So I was that kid that wanted to be in Spanish class because I wanted to get better. And then once I hit middle school.
It was your roots.
Oh, correct. I added French because I was like, well, I got Spanish down packed. Let's add French. And then when we went to high school, I said, no, I need more. I can't stay with that elementary basic knowledge of reading and writing.
Right.
Conversation was great. I never lost it, but I wanted more precision.
Got it.
I wanted to be good. I wanted to read.
Be a native.
Yes. I wanted to read. I wanted to write. And I wanted to be grammatically correct. Full sentences, paragraphs. I wanted to enjoy reading books in Spanish.
Yeah.
And not be a hurdle.
Smart. I am struggling with that currently. So I can read, I can write somewhat in Portuguese, but my vocabulary is very limited. I can speak a lot. I can hold full conversations. I can even give like a speech or a talk, but I know that there's a cap on my vocabulary. And I'm looking now for a Portuguese teacher to help me learn more, expand. Exactly. So I want to start a podcast in Portuguese.
Beautiful.
But I feel limited.
You're going to feel like that for a while. And I'll tell you what helps: reading.
Yes.
It's so insane. But if you can use reading as the same as English. So your vocabulary, and this is what I tell everybody, your knowledge and your vocabulary is going to change the more you read. You can tell when a person is educated.
Right.
But it's because of the amount of books they read.
Right.
And they level up.
Of
so
course.
We're not just reading Gossip Girl, you know? We're going to level up. We're going to have a higher vocabulary.
Right.
And let me tell you, to this day, I read for fun when I can. I have 2 little boys. It's very hard. But when I'm putting one down to bed and the other one's already gone to sleep, I'll try to stop the TV and pick up a book instead.
Nice.
Join the book club.
Yes.
And to this day, I have the dictionary app on my phone.
Really?
100%. And the whole point is not just maybe a new word that I don't know the meaning. I like to get that feeling of like, oh, I knew what that was. But I wanted to read the definition for myself.
Right.
I got it in context. I'm like, yeah, I got it right. But most of the time, it's because I want to know the correct pronunciation. And the dictionary.com app tells you that little voice. You click it and it says it. You can pronounce it correct. It's like, I had it right. Or, wow, I had that one wrong. You know, but that's how I teach myself.
Yeah.
And you'll get there with Portuguese. I do recommend picking maybe a famous Portuguese author.
Yes.
Something fun to read and start off that way. On top of, you know, having the Portuguese podcast and the instructor. It's the same thing with English. You want to get better in your vocabulary.
You got to read.
You got to read.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get better. And I think those who have speech issues, reading, but hearing those voices, how it's audiobooks, amazing.
They are.
For those who have speech issues, for that reason.
Using both, right? The audiobook and the actual book, and you're following along.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You can't skip the legwork of actually reading it yourself.
No, you can't skip leg day.
No, you can't. You can't skip that one either.
Tell me, what made you want to become a lawyer?
I was that random 3-year-old that said I wanted to be a lawyer.
And that was it?
That was it. I mean, you can go back. It's funny enough, over the holidays, we my godchildren came over and I was showing off to them my books. I got the blessing that in my elementary school, I was in Gifted. The Gifted program is the advanced program for kids here. And I've been in Gifted since first grade. And
I can tell.
Thank you.
I can tell.
And
your energy,
we
I can
actually
tell.
wrote books. How cool is that?
That's so cool.
Super nerdy, but so cool
Super
because
cool.
now at 30 plus years old, you look back, you're like, wow. Like I tell kids, your mom's an author. Children's book. But I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I had to illustrate everything and I had to write everything myself. That was part of the program.
Very cool.
And I was showing it to my godchildren. My goddaughter wants to do it. Her mom already asked me, like, hey, she wants to write a book. Can you help her? I was like, 100%. I want to help her write her own book.
Incredible.
Yes. But the whole point was that by doing that, in there, it's a little autobiography that goes inside the book with your picture, little fourth grader. And it said, what do you want to be when you grow up? What's crazy is at that moment, I said, I wanted, one of the books said I wanted to be the president of the United States. The other book said I wanted to be a lawyer. And it was 1 year in between each.
Most presidents were lawyers.
Yes. But why did I change from president to lawyer? It's because I found out I couldn't be president.
Because you weren't born here.
Because I wasn't born here. And I said, fine.
Next best thing.
Next best thing, I'll be a lawyer. They're all lawyers.
Yeah.
I'll be a lawyer. And I never lost track of that.
Did you know what a lawyer was in fourth grade? Or is it just something you heard, you thought it was cool?
No, it's something that and you'll relate to this, as a Latin American, you're either a lawyer or a doctor.
Yes, or an engineer.
Yeah. I guess if you're a boy, they'll have the engineer talk as a boy. As a female, you'll never get the engineer. Now we'll have it.
Yes.
But back then we didn't have that talk.
That's so funny.
That was it. And they said, oh, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer.
Yes.
And
100%.
I had a mouth on me. And it was for good use. And everyone's like, whoever met me, we know who the lawyer is going to be. And it was prestigious. It was not only for financial reasons, it was just something to be proud of.
Yes.
And it was the fact that you put a title on something I already did naturally, which is to defend people and fight for social justice, like cutting in the cafeteria line. It's not going to happen. Not on my
Were you a
watch.
hall monitor?
I was not, because I was always a defender.
Got it.
I never ratted out.
Got it.
So I could never be a prosecutor. But
Very interesting.
you couldn't mess with me and you couldn't mess with my friends.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So once that decision was made, how did you get to immigration? Because you could be, there's many types of lawyers that you can be.
So you know what's crazy? When I did my whole process of being a lawyer, I never knew what I wanted to be as a lawyer. I said, I want to be a lawyer.
Right.
I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I was going to get there. And what's crazy is that I put myself through college, double major.
Wow. Where'd you go?
Nothing to do. St. Thomas University.
Nice.
Double majored in theology and political science.
Wow.
One would think one has nothing to do with the other. They are two peas in a pod. You'll understand the world so much better if you got the knowledge of those two.
Right.
And then I went to law school. And in law school, it's funny enough, you separate yourself. Everybody separates themselves. You got the natural defender, you got the natural prosecutor. That's natural. And then you split and you go, all right, who can speak? Who has a fear of speaking? You got the natural writers. They're like, okay, this is a transactional lawyer. Then you got the litigators. This is the person that's going to be in front of the courtroom for sure. And what's beautiful about immigration is you get to do both. So you don't have to pick. But at that time, I didn't know what I wanted. But I am quoted in one of the campus's brochures. And it says, why do you want to be a lawyer? And I said, because I want to be the voice for the voiceless.
It's beautiful.
That's why I want to be a lawyer. And I ended up competing. I got into what's called moot court. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And I ended up competing for moot court, won first place twice.
Wow.
My first competition, I was one of the coaches.
Is that like mock court?
Yeah, so but federal.
Got it.
Appellate level. So you have mock trial. So in law school, you either are on law review, so you write the books and you do the editing. You're either, and those are all the transactional lawyers. Everybody who likes to write, hates to be in front of a crowd.
Makes sense.
That's law review. And you had moot court, which is the mix. Those who write the appellate briefs and speak. And then you got mock trial. And those are the ones that like the jury, the prosecutor, the defense, the judge.
Got it.
With moot court, you had one major issue. It was federal level appellate work right before it goes to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
So you got to go back and check all the boxes that were done before you. So it's investigative work. And then you got to go through and comb through the Constitution.
That's crazy.
And then you got to argue what's in your favor. And you don't have a jury. You only have 3 judges in front of you. You got your team and you got the other team. And it's only 2 lawyers on each side.
Wow.
And we won first place twice. Super exciting.
That's incredible.
Took me to Chicago. Took me to Texas. Got to go to Austin. And
wow.
Crazy, I look back, both of those competitions were about immigration. And I had no idea at the time. I knew it was about immigration, and it was about, I'll never forget the Texas one was about the state of Texas granting, they wanted to pass a law to grant licenses to illegal immigrants, give them the ability to drive.
Okay.
Because it'll help out with taxes and et cetera. And then you didn't know, so you had to prepare your argument. And then right before competition, as you're preparing for the appellate brief that you submit, you already know which side you're on.
That's so interesting.
But you had to help so we had, for example, in that competition, we would have like 4 groups competing. So we would help each other out. So you had to know everybody's argument ahead of time. And that's how you would compete.
Wow.
But that was immigration. Then I go out into the world and I practice professional malpractice. And I fell in love with it. Because now I had to be every single type of professional out there who's being sued and defend them.
Wow.
So I did legal malpractice, medical malpractice, professional malpractice, which would include realtors or
Right.
anything else.
Car accidents?
I did personal injury, very little, but I did it. But professional malpractice was my favorite because of that investigative work. But I wasn't fulfilled. At one point in life, I just wasn't fulfilled.
Like a borderline detective, right?
Yes, and I absolutely loved it. And then I switched to first-party property. And in first-party property, it's you either defend the homeowner or you defend the homeowner's insurance. That's hurricanes, fire, water, etc.
Got it.
I wasn't fulfilled in that role. And I wasn't fulfilled working for someone else. Something was missing.
I can see that.
I felt like I didn't have a home. I didn't have a place.
Right.
And I couldn't fit in. And everyone tells you, you're so good, but you're lacking this. Or you're so good, but you're lacking that. And then you start looking around, you're like, okay, well, it's the teams that I'm being placed in. I'm just not fitting. I'm not blaming them.
Right.
You still have to manage. If you have time management issues, you got to manage that, etc.
Yeah.
But I don't know how or why, but I ended up in immigration and I've never looked back. And it's been 5 years.
Wow.
And I love it every single day. And then on top of that, I found a niche in immigration that actually fulfills me because this niche is not, it's not just, oh, who entered illegally? Let me help you with your asylum. Let me get you out of a detention center. No, it's, you know what? We got a problem. Why is everybody coming through the border? Why are people sacrificing themselves, their children, their family. Why are they doing this when there's an easier way to get in? So while people are out there paying $20,000+ to coyotes to bring them in, why, when there's this visa that can get you and your family in, not only as a legal permanent resident, but with a job for you and your spouse, if your spouse also wants to work in this until you both land on your feet.
What are the qualifications for that visa?
You need to have an employer, very important.
In America?
In America.
Okay.
You need one employer in America. Had partnered up with a staffing company, amazing, very, very strong staffing company, but it could be any employer you want. And it's people who need employees, cleaning, nanny, production work, whatever, secretary.
So paint me a picture, okay? I'm someone in, I don't know, Brazil, and I'm trying to come to America. I would have to find this employer first?
You can either find the employer first or you can come talk to my employer. It varies.
Got it.
Obviously, the employment part has nothing to do with me.
Got it.
The
But you have a
employment part-
connection.
Correct.
Got it.
If it works out, great. If it doesn't, you're at free will to find. Let's say you find your own employer. And that employer is interested in helping you out and says, hey, not only do I want to help you and your family out, but I also have a need. Well, then we'll go through this entire process. It's called the Visa EB3.
I think that's how I got my green card. My dad's boss sponsored us.
There you go.
That's how we got it.
So you have the EB1, EB2, EB3. And EB3 is you have either skilled or non-skilled, but it's basically just the lowest paying job possible. Waiters, cooks, cleaners, etc.
Wow. Okay, so me as an employer, how can I sponsor someone?
So the first thing we would do is I would check your taxes.
Okay.
And I would ask you what type of position you're looking for. And with the type of position you're looking for, I'll find out what's the average pay in that area of business for that position. And I'll compare that to your taxes. So I'll confirm that your taxes give you that ability to pay that
To afford.
preferred salary. Yeah,
Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
That's step number one. Once we got that covered, I'll go ahead and I'll submit what's called a prevailing wage application. I'll ask the Department of Labor to give me the salary. So what I do is that I got to make sure that your taxes can cover a salary that can come back from the Department of Labor. And once I submit that application. Once I get that back, then we got to go through a recruitment stage where I got to make sure if you don't already have the immigrant, maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you don't, we're going to find one. If you already do, then I got to make sure that there is no U.S. citizen who's qualified or interested and able to complete the job that you're asking.
How do you prove that?
Because you have to put it in a newspaper and you got to put it in the state work agency website. So you got to keep a control of who's applying. To be quite honest, nobody reads the newspaper. I mean, I don't know who does. I don't even know where I can get one.
That's hysterical.
Other than online.
Right.
Go to,
Right.
MiamiHerald.com, NewYorkTimes.com,
Right.
and I'll get it online.
Right.
But maybe at the gas station they still have it?
Maybe.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. I was going to say a newsstand, but those things exist anymore?
They don't. Maybe in New York,
Maybe in New York.
but not down here.
Yeah.
So let's say nobody pops up. Because, I mean, that's happened. That's happened a lot.
Wow. And they accept that as an answer?
Yes, because nobody showed up.
That's crazy.
So because nobody showed up, and the only one who showed up
was the immigrant.
it was the immigrant. And then we'll go ahead and we'll submit a labor certification for that immigrant, for the benefit of that immigrant. And once you get that labor certification, and then we're talking about from beginning to end, between the prevailing wage application and the labor certification, could take anywhere up to 2 years.
Right.
So it does take time. But once you
But
get
they
that,
can be in the country while
No.
No.
they can't. So one has nothing to do with the other. What we're doing right now, this work that we're describing, is with the Department of Labor. Has nothing to do with immigration.
Got it.
So then what's going to happen once you get that labor certification, then we can jump into immigration. And what's cool,
Because now you're authorized to work.
no,
No.
no,
Yeah,
not even, not even. So what's going to happen now is that now that employer is going to submit that petition for
Got it.
that immigrant.
So the first step is just to see if one, I qualify, and if there is any other American who could do the job better. And if not, okay, you can sponsor this person. And now let's go to sponsorship.
Correct.
Okay.
So now when we're in sponsorship, you're looking at about another 9 months approximately.
Okay.
And then in 9 months, you're either going to get an audit. So they're going to request more information either of the employer or the future employee. Depends on what they want. Typically, all the audits I've received have typically been about the employer. For example, we submitted it, I don't know, maybe June, July, and now they're reviewing it and they're processing it. And now it's February. We want your new income tax, things like that.
Got it.
Very few times it's been about the employee. Very few times. And if they do question the employee, they'll question, maybe it'll have to be a skilled position, and then they'll question those skills. They'll question, okay, let me get a letter certifying that you did work for that employer because you needed those 2 years experience prior to working for your future employer,
Got it.
But either you get an audit, you get a denial, or you get an approval. If you get an approval, what does that mean for the immigrant? Everything and nothing. Everything and nothing.
Break
Why?
that down. Yes.
Everything, because you can apply for legal permanent residency once that visa becomes available. We got to go back to the bulletin board. Your visa's available, it's current. Then we
Right.
can apply for your legal permanent residency, either via consular process
Okay.
for those who are outside waiting, or
Yep.
adjustment of status, whoever's inside the U.S. with a legal status. Why will it give you nothing? Because it won't give you a status. It won't give you status. It won't give you work permit. It won't allow you to come in and out of the country. None of that.
But it gives you the ability to apply for it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So it's very tricky.
Very.
When you start to work with this visa, a lot of attorneys don't like it because you have to pre-plan everything. Every detail has to be worked out from the first consultation. One thing changes and the whole thing fails. It's a huge domino effect. So if one piece
Wow.
goes out of place, I have to start all over again.
Wow. So my parents had to pay a penalty for being in the country illegally for so long. I think, if I recall correct, I was very young. But what helped them was the fact that they were paying taxes from day one. Someone, I'm not sure who, I'm not sure if it was my uncle, someone guided them to let them to get an EIN number, and they were able to pay taxes from day one. And my dad, he's an audio and visual engineer, which is a very specific skill.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's what got us the green card, because his boss really couldn't find anybody else that had his skill set with his level of knowledge. So that saved us. And my dad worked there for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And it took us a little over 5 years to get our green cards.
That's about the time frame.
Yeah.
It's still the same time
Yeah.
frame. However, back then was very different. Immigration
Very.
was very different
Very
compared
different.
to how it is now.
Yeah.
Back then, people were coming in and out of the country with no I-94s. Like there was no record, no travel history.
I know. I know.
It's crazy. Now, I mean, you can't move a pencil without
No.
everybody knowing. But back then, a lot of things,
Yeah.
would fly by.
We got here in 95, October 4th, 95. July 4th, 96, my grandfather passed away.
Wow.
And my mother's like, do I go? Do I stay? Do I go? Do I stay? She went. We didn't know she was going to be able to come back. Thank God she came back.
Oh my God.
Nothing happened.
Wow.
She passed right through. And I remember being at the airport, picking her up. I was like 8 years old. And my dad's like, don't look at anybody. Don't say a word. Just grab her bag. Let's go. Quiet.
Yeah.
Just keep walking.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I have a client that did that, but eventually caught up to his dad. And he did that from Colombia. Came in and out a couple times, and on the last one was like, all right, well,
Now we got
sir.
you. Yeah. Can't keep doing this.
we caught you. But yeah, that's how it was back then,
Yeah.
which
So
kind of
it's
leads
pre 9/11, which is a whole
100%.
different world.
Yeah. I actually came in 94. Summer of 94, I came. So right along with you.
Yeah. Literally a year before me.
Yeah. And back then it was a lot easier.
A lot easier.
I always ask my dad and my mom, how was my dad here a year before us? And now that I'm in the immigration world, I'm so curious. I'm just like, how? How is this? It's not logical.
Yeah.
Was it a tour? What did you do? And of course, they're not lawyers.
Right.
People helped them.
Right.
So I get very vague answers. And I don't stop. I just keep asking
Keep digging,
different
keep
ways.
digging, keep digging.
I got to find out.
Yeah.
But it's because I came to that realization that it was very different back then than it is now. Many laws have changed.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy with immigration? The laws have not changed. They've been written. It was just never enforced.
Wow.
Ever. So that, yeah, of course, a couple things were added.
Right.
Of course. But like, I'll just give you a quick example. We don't have to get into politics, but when Donald Trump
We can if you want to.
Title 42, everyone's like, oh,
Yes.
where are you getting this from? It's like, lady, that's been in the INA for forever, you know? And it's just one of those,
That was
like,
a good Trump voice. I like it.
it's been there
I caught
for
it.
forever. And it's just one of those, like, why are you in shock? Oh, I'm going to deport everybody. It's like, what does the INA say? You can. And then when everyone started losing their mind, it was just like, but he didn't create this.
Right. You're just enforcing it.
He's just enforcing it,
Right.
which is what a commander-in-chief does. And which is what the whole point of the executive branch is.
Yes.
Totally wild. But I think when people break it down that way, get a better picture. I mean, take the human side out of it, the emotional aspect out of it. But if you're just going to look at it that way, these laws have been on there way before you and I existed. They're just being enforced now. And I think that's what was happening back then.
Yeah. Okay, since we got political, I want to ask you, because I heard it, I saw it, but I wasn't really following it. Trump's first term, okay? There was a lot of talk about him detaining people. What was happening there?
So I think what happened back then was that he actually put ICE officers to work. So a lot of raids, ICE raids were occurring. And he was going after people who already had deportation orders,
Got it.
but were just out there living their lives.
Right. That wasn't being enforced again.
Correct. Just wasn't being enforced. Now, what's sad about the situation, why was it mayhem? It was because these people, since it was not enforced and they were never deported when they needed to have been deported, these people now created families. So now you have multi-status families.
Got it. The
And
kids are
that's-
Americans, the parents are illegal.
That's where the drama comes in.
Got it.
What do you do?
Because you're splitting them.
Correct.
Got it.
But are you splitting them? That's where the real
Right.
drama comes
Right,
in. And that, to be quite honest, to me,
Right.
that's like talking about what came first, the chicken or the egg.
I agree.
And it's going to be one of those like, is the government really splitting families when they do this? They did.
Right.
Okay, let's clarify. They did split families at the border.
They did, yeah.
And I was never in favor of that as an immigrant myself.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And as a mom,
yeah.
I just can't imagine.
Just not human.
No, my 3-year-old and my 1-year-old who, one, they don't speak English. Let's start off with that. We're Spanish-based family until we go to school.
Right.
And then we can be bilingual. So we're Spanish-based, number one. And number two, a 3-year-old and my 1-year-old.
They're
really,
babies.
My 1-year-old says mama, papa, aya, and gugu gaga juice. That's it. And yes, I quoted Kevin Hart. But that's it. So I can't imagine having to uproot your entire life, move your family in those horrible conditions, and then being split last minute. I understand if mom and dad, children, dad goes his way, mom stays with children. That's what happened to us. But we went to DR. We escaped Cuba on a religious invitation to DR. From there, we escaped on a raft. It's called a yola, which is a Dominican boat, made a handmade wooden boat. Got lost at sea for 5 days, no food, no water. Talking about 3.5-year-old, 5.5-year-old, my mom by herself. My dad was already here.
What?
And then we get detained when we land in Puerto Rico.
That's crazy.
We were never split from my family. I was never split from my mom.
Hold on. I'm still stuck on the handmade boat.
Yeah. Yeah, you ever heard of a yola?
I have not.
Yeah, look it up. It's really sad.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah. 5 days lost at sea. There was 2 boats. One got lost. We never heard from them.
Wow. How'd you guys find your way?
We don't know. We ended up 5 days later in Puerto Rico instead of Miami.
Wow.
Yeah. There's something called El Canal de la Mona. It's the Monkey's Canal.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Caribbean. Very, very dangerous. So many people
Is that
died there.
the Bermuda Triangle?
No, it's more south, and it's literally in between. It starts crossing between Española,
Okay.
which is DR and Haiti,
Yep.
and Puerto Rico. And it's connecting. It's that waterway that connects the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean.
Got it.
And so many people have died there.
That's crazy.
Lots of Cubans, Haitians, Dominicans.
God bless your mother.
To this day, every time she says she's scared about something, like, what happened to that woman? What happened?
For her, that was enough.
Yeah. She's like, after everything I've been through, after all the years,
Yes.
you get more scared as you get older.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy.
I remind her all the time. I was like, what happened to that strong woman?
What an
did that.
incredible story.
Yeah.
What our parents did for us, right? It's like,
Insane. Mm-hmm. And I don't know about you, but when this whole Trump versus Biden, the first round,
Yeah.
When all that madness was happening, it got me thinking, what do I do if things really go south and we have to evacuate the country?
Wow.
This is home.
Yeah.
For us, this is home.
For sure.
Like, I haven't been back to Cuba since that visit I told you. I've never been able to go back. What do I do? My kids are born here.
Yeah.
My husband's an American. He's like 3rd generation. He's never lived anywhere else. What do I do? Where do I go? What country will I pick? Who will take us in? Cuban passport, U.S. passport. What's going to benefit me? Crazy.
Crazy.
I don't know if anybody else thinks of stuff like that.
No.
But it crossed my mind. It crossed my mind. because it's not about whose side you're on. You're just thinking, what if things go south, period? You know, and we start becoming a totalitarian regime.
Right.
Where would you go? What country would you pick? And then you got to start thinking, what country you're going to pick? Language? Is language going to be a barrier? Maybe not for you if you like learning new languages.
Right.
Maybe not for your kids because kids, they pick up everything. But will I be able to practice anywhere else? What am I going to do as a job?
All these things rushing your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't know what you're going to do. So you can imagine what these people are going through. And that's what our parents went through.
Yeah. That's so
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Okay, so then 4 years later, we got Biden, and it seems like he put things back together, sort of what Trump had done. Sort of, right? I think he put those families back together. I think Trump did that also, right? Put the families back together.
Some of them never even got to be back together.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
if, you know what's really wild? No one has said it since, but just to clarify, the Obama administration is known as the #1 administration for mass deportation.
I know.
They've
I've heard
deported
that.
the most amount of immigrants than any other president in the U.S.
In secrecy, because nobody
Of
knew.
course, because the media is not. I don't know why the media has blown up on the issue of immigration so much with Trump,
Yeah.
but it failed to do so with all the other presidents, and this has
Yeah.
always been an issue.
Yeah.
But what's wild was that Trump was announced as a possible winner his first term. And we got closer to that becoming a realization.
Right.
What's crazy is that a lot of people don't know that South America blew up, got so scared, and started sending their children, unaccompanied minors, through the southern border
What?
by themselves. Blew up so much
That's crazy.
that they had to open up emergency detention centers to be able to hold these children, unaccompanied minors. And I know firsthand because I worked at one of them. And that was between me graduating law school and passing the Florida bar.
That's insane.
And
what an experience.
It was insane.
Heartbreaking.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I became head of intake. I became one of the counselors for the children. And I also took care of the outtake.
God bless you.
Thank you. As all the kids were coming in, I was there to greet them. I was there to hear their story. I was there to communicate them with whatever family member they had back home.
Yeah.
We had a protocol.
These kids, they were probably so scared.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy, Leo, is that some were super scared and some were prepared.
What do you mean? Prepared how?
It's very hard to explain. They're not so scared by the time they get to you because of what they've seen. They've seen so much worse. They've been through so much worse that
It's almost
your
a relief.
face
Yeah.
is a relief. They're by the time they saw my face, it was like seeing the landing strip after a storm. Because they knew that from me, the next face they're gonna see is their family member, whoever was here to take them in. That was the last step.
Is that whole process, right? It's clearly illegal, right? What they were doing, or no? Or is it legal?
No,
to
so-
send your kid like that.
Yeah, of course, but illegal in what sense? Children who cross the border. That's what when you were telling me your story. That's why I started. I was like, well, oh, okay. You never accumulated illegal presence because children can't be illegal.
Really?
You can't. You
have to
can't
be an
break a
adult.
law as a minor. You can't legally enter and not enter. It's like saying a 3-year-old is trespassing. What? They don't know anything about that. Kids
I understand.
can't be
I
held
understand.
accountable. But what do you do if they're coming unaccompanied, no parent, to You have a 5-year-old that
The
just crossed the border.
bravery of these. I could
know.
never imagine sending my 5-year-old through a freaking coyote to come to America.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah, and a lot of things happen between that and by the time they get here.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
But you know what's crazier?
Wow.
A lot of nasty things happened at home before they even went through that travesty.
Wow.
And that's the sad part. A lot of them, they were sent off, and a lot of them wanted to go off on their own. But what's really wild is that so many children came across because the parents knew, oh man, if Trump comes into power, border's going to shut down. All these talks about building a wall.
Right.
And I need to save my kid. So they just send them off. As a parent, I'll still never understand that.
Same.
I didn't understand it prior to being a parent.
Yeah.
I understand it even less as a mom now.
Yeah.
But once those children got here, we had to place them somewhere
Right.
and do all that paperwork. And that's where all these detention centers came. But you know what's really wild? They come in through the border. They're detained in a center. Obviously, they start dividing them between ages, girls and boys. And girls get pregnancy tests. If they're already come pregnant, you go to another detention center that can cater to pregnancies, etc. And during the Obama administration, I'm telling you, the end. No, I saw it once, and I know a handful of people that also saw that news with me, and it never showed up again. 2 of those ICE buses disappeared.
With how many kids?
I'd say about 100 each.
Wow.
And those 2 buses were headed to the West Coast,
Wow.
to other emergency detention centers that had to be created for the influx of these children.
Wow.
And we never heard from them again.
There's one thing that comes to my mind.
I think it's the same thing as mine.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sex trafficking.
of course. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But nobody has ever mentioned it again.
That's so sad.
And so then you start splitting children from their
Wow.
moms or dads, because there were single dads that came through the border with just their children. You shouldn't split them either, but then that happened. And then you couldn't place those families back together because it was so chaos. And I'm not here to blame the amazing workers that defend our border every day.
Right.
That's not it. I'm just saying the overworked system for either side,
Failed.
of course, it collapses. And you got to do something about it. And unfortunately, because of that overworked system, kids went missing.
That breaks my heart.
Families weren't placed together.
That's crazy.
It took, and if families ever got back together, it took hard work.
Wow. Okay, so Obama really began the mess. If you want to.
Yeah, I'm happy to say it was Obama. I mean, he took out wet foot, dry foot, so I'm happy to blame it on him.
Okay, so then Biden comes in,
Yeah.
and what the fuck happened?
So you know what's wild?
How did we get an open border? How did that occur?
Because he left the job to Kamala Harris. Or Kamala. Comma. I'll never forget that speech. I don't know why I watched it, but I watched it just at that point.
Yeah, I still don't know how to pronounce her name.
So you know what? Okay, have you seen Scandal?
Yes.
The main actress?
Yes.
Love her. Till
What's her name?
I suck at actresses' names
Me
and
too.
actors.
I know
You know
about.
who I'm talking
Yes,
about.
I do.
Well, she was there at the beginning of Kamala's speech, her last one. She came out, I'll never forget it, with 2 little girls, and they're saying, my auntie's name, we're going to teach you how to say her name. And I was like, all right, well, there's something wrong with this country if we got to teach its people how to say their president's name. That's insane. And this is coming from a person who has a pretty complex name as well. This is like, this is an issue, right? I'm not saying you have to have a boring name to be a president. I'm saying like, this is an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way they said it had a little song and everything. And I hate that I watched it at that. I took it off right after.
It got stuck in your brain.
But it got stuck in my brain. But I learned how to say her name. And it's comma, like a comma. La.
Kamala.
There you go. That's it.
Kamala.
And I was like, wow, the song worked.
Okay, there we go.
But she was in charge.
And she didn't do shit.
No, she never even went. Did you see how many times everybody... It took Maria Elvira Salazar, which is a Republican representative.
I know what you're talking about.
Took her. It took Marco Rubio. It took God knows what other Republican representative to go out to the border. And out there, they went in the news. They're like, where is she? We're still waiting. She actually skipped the visit to the border and went straight to Guatemala. I don't know if anybody remembers this, and was greeted so terribly. I don't think she lasted that long there, but it was the first time ever that a vice president is greeted from the U.S. is greeted in that fashion. She had boos. She had signs saying, "You're not welcomed. Go back. We don't want you here."
Wow.
Kind of an oxymoron, right? For an administration that was like open border policy.
Yes.
And they don't want you in their country. Pretty wild.
I almost feel like there's more to this story because at some point, someone had to notice that she's not doing anything and no one picked up the slack, right? Biden or whoever, or, no one, it just felt like nobody cared.
Well, because I think it's all part of their program. Because if they let it go more into chaos, then who do you naturally blame? The prior presidency.
Right.
I mean, we were just doing it now with
Obama.
God knows
what Bush did.
What Bush was doing. I don't think anybody... It started with Obama and it hasn't ended. But no one's gone really back.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't have time to go all the way back in that specific issue. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll pick it up in one of my night readings.
Yeah.
But I feel like when one administration can't do something, it starts rolling down to the next administration until somebody does something, which we actually saw with Trump.
Yeah.
Somebody who actually did something. And everything got better. The economy went up.
Yes.
People had jobs. Visas were current.
Yes.
Crazy. Maybe some not. Before any other followers like, mine was backed up. Okay. But the visa...
The majority.
The majority were current. It was wild. We saw a boom in everything. Employers had employees, could hire more. It was like there was enough food to go around. Then Biden comes, and like you said, nobody did anything.
Nobody gave a fuck.
Nobody did anything. So they leave who many call, not my words, but who many call the clown, the laughing clown.
Walking zombie.
Yes, they leave her up to that issue, that crisis, as they were calling it.
Yeah.
Never showed up, never did anything. And then, you know what the best part was? To hear her say the exact same things the Trump administration has been saying the entire time.
I remember that.
Now, when she finally gets to the border, she's like, we got a crisis on our hands.
No shit.
And we got to fix it. Maybe the Trump administration didn't do the best way of fixing it.
Right.
Okay, maybe there was abuse of Title 42. Title 42, for those who don't know, is just basically saying the CDC can invoke a shutdown of all the borders because there's a communicable disease. So
was that during COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, COVID appeared, the whole world shut down.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm like, why is everybody just focusing on the U.S.? Nobody wants anybody.
Right.
Nobody wanted their own people.
It's true.
Like,
I recall during that same time, Hungary, the country, was having border fights. They were locked up, and there were people trying to come in, and the military was there blocking them. It was a crazy thing.
yeah, and I'm sure they weren't the only ones.
Probably not.
And why? Because they're I mean, who were they getting? They were getting a bunch of people from Syria.
Yes.
And a bunch of people from the Middle East.
Correct.
You know,
That they
those
didn't
poor
want.
souls were going through their own battles in the Middle East. And
Right.
those poor people have been evacuating for forever all
Forever.
across Europe. And, you know, they have to shut down their borders too. But we're the only ones that were.
Because we're America.
Of
right?
course. Of course.
What do you see happening in the next 4 years?
Some were trying to say that he might invoke Title 42 again. Again, he can't. He can try to get the CDC to do it again. I highly doubt that's going to happen because a lot of litigation is going to have to go through. A lot of states are going to fight against. A lot of prosecutors, pro-immigration groups are all going to fight against it. I honestly don't think there's a need for it personally, unless another communicable disease is out there and we don't know about it yet.
Right.
But
Please, God, no.
But I think what's going to happen, it's going to be very interesting, Leo, because now we have this whole Elon Musk H-1B
Yeah, what is all
madness
that?
going on with this
Can
other
you
guy? I forgot his
explain
name.
that? Vivek.
Yes.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yes. So he's like, no H-1B.
What is this visa?
And Elon Musk is like, yes, that's how I got here. So the H-1B is just bringing in somebody. It's highly used in the tech industry.
Makes sense.
And what they'll do is that you'll bring someone in who's specialized in, kind of like your dad, kind of like that, a very special niche, like talent.
Right.
And it's in the sciences, engineering world,
Got it.
you know. And what they'll do is that they'll bring these people in, and it'll eventually lead to legal permanent residency, which will lead to citizenship. What was happening, there was an abuse of that, or so-called, in the tech world industry out in Cali.
Makes sense.
And what they were doing is that they were bringing these illegal immigrants, well, legal immigrants at this point,
Yeah.
from India and other countries that would work on a specific program, but the companies were then selling that person out, kind of like a modern day slavery type thing, if you want to see it that way, but it really wasn't because they're getting paid and they can leave at any time.
Okay.
But
I get it.
It's considered modern day slavery.
Yes, yes.
And
They were being resold
correct.
Yeah.
So they were being resold to another
to the highest
tech.
bidder.
Correct. Literally.
Yeah.
And so that's an abuse of the visa. So what this guy's saying, Vivek? Whatever.
Vivek.
Vivek.
Yes.
What he was saying is, hey, there's an abuse going on. And not only that, you're now taking away talent from the US. So you're not even giving our own people an opportunity to show off their talents, because if you go to the Valley, who are you going to see? Everybody's going to be an outsider.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Americans. They're not the engineers on programs. It's everybody from everywhere else. And that's what he's arguing. But then you got Elon Musk saying, we need these people. Like, this is how I got here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Elon Musk is all about, I don't care where you're from, we need to be the best. And if the best happens to be, the best crew is coming from London, Australia, Czechoslovakia, I mean, India, Vietnam, we're bringing them. You want the U.S. to be the best, and we got to get the best world talent. Doesn't matter where they're from. Immigration is a side effect.
I agree half and half.
Of course.
Yeah, I feel half and half about it.
Of course, because we're American and we're also immigrants.
Yes.
So when you have to look at it from a bigger picture of globalization and how it works, yeah, you're all for it. But then as an American who went through college here, and now your kids are going to go through college here,
Yeah.
they're just like, wait a minute. why? What happened to, why did my parents fight so hard for me to give me a better life, to give me citizenship so that I can then have a better, the next generation. But then now the next generation can't get a job because it's being given to an immigrant. Now the next generation can't get a scholarship because it's being given to an immigrant.
And on top of that, our education system can't compete. It's at a point where it's not competing very well. Right? So these kids are smarter coming in. They're more focused, they're more educated, they're more disciplined.
Yeah, and they are. And that is something else I struggle with. I'll never forget it. I went to, my husband is significantly older than his siblings. And I'll never forget it. One of them was graduating from high school. And they brought out the valedictorian and the runner-up. And they each had a speech. How about the valedictorian had just arrived from Cuba 6 months prior to?
What?
And the runner-up had only been here for a year.
Also Cuba.
Also Cuban.
Good job. That's crazy.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. And I knew it could be done, and I knew it was possible, but it outraged me because here I was sitting to it, not to put my family on blast, but I'm sitting next to all these family members that are all American and are also, we're American.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why isn't your kid the valedictorian?
Right.
Oh, because the immigrant has something to prove. The immigrant wants it because that immigrant mom and dad is all up in their business.
Yes.
And is school, because you got to be somebody. You got to be better than us.
Yes.
You got to be better than us. And maybe they were someone incredible back home. But they had to start from scratch.
I can see that you've carried the same weight that I have.
Yes.
I've carried that my whole life where I got to succeed. I got to be somebody. I have to make their sacrifice not go in vain, right? I have to make sure that I make them proud.
100%.
Yeah.
And by making them proud, you're making your people proud. And by people, I'm just saying in general, who you represent. Because at the end of the day, we're American.
Yes.
Because we're more American than Cuban and Brazilian at this point.
Oh, yeah. We are definitely Americans.
I mean, people don't even believe I'm Cuban. My last name, Morgan, is my last name. It's my dad's last name.
Oh, yeah?
That's not my married name.
Really?
No, I never changed it. That's mine. That's my last name.
Yeah.
So you had the blonde, you had the white, you had the Morgan, forget it.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't look Cuban.
People thought I was Hawaiian in law school.
Really?
Yeah. It's really cool because I've always wanted to go to Hawaii.
That is really cool.
So I was trying to stretch that out.
No, you definitely look white.
But
because I know Latin people, I can see your Latin flair and I can tell.
of course.
Yeah.
But for those who have never experienced that Latin flair,
Yeah. Oh, they'll never know.
they just thought I was Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Because I had an accent. I was like, okay, I have an accent. But the accent I had was that Miami accent
Yes.
that you're not accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go up north, who hadn't been to Miami or traveled to Miami, don't really know our accent. But it's going to be very interesting these next 4 years. I'm super excited to see what happens. I think it's going to be very, very positive.
I do too.
I will tell you this. I am already starting to see the movement in immigration. Things, for example, those labor certifications we were talking about,
Yeah.
back then during the Trump administration took about 3 to 6 months, max 9. That was wild to get to 9. We're at 15
Wow.
to 17 months delayed.
Wow. That's a big difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm starting to get him now back in around 7 months. Just when he wasn't announced, since he was announced as the next president, up until now, his inauguration in a couple of days, I've seen things just popping out.
Daddy's back. That's what it feels like.
Yes.
Like when your parents go away, right? And you just party at the house.
Yes.
Now dad's coming back. Oh, we got to clean up. Let's clean up.
Everything's going to go back in order.
Crazy. The power of this man.
He runs a tight ship.
The most powerful man in the fucking world.
Yes. Absolutely.
And he's the most powerful president ever.
Yes.
Because the Supreme Court gave him all that power.
Yep.
Man.
Yep. He has a lot of support. And it's crazy during his administration, I actually traveled. I got the privilege to travel to Paris. I had a little girls trip in Paris. Absolutely loved it. And what's wild was that I got the opinion of one of the store managers that I was shopping at. And she was saying, oh, what a disgrace to the U.S. This man is an embarrassment. He's making you guys look bad. Mm. And, I was younger. I wasn't in the immigration world back then. I don't typically agree with people just because, again, I'm a defender. So I just naturally will go the opposite side. I'll agree with you, but I won't let you know I'll agree with you just for shits and giggles to keep it interesting.
That's awesome.
And I didn't agree with this lady, and it got crazy, pretty heated, really wild. Yeah. But then I was able to bring it back down and be like, oh, at the end, I agree with you. But I just
don't.
I had to.
Right.
I had
Keep
to
it
go
civil.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's wild is that after he's gone and we get Biden, I'm like, wow, that lady was nuts. I mean, I didn't agree with her in the first place. I agreed to some level. Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing that the person who's representing all of us is speaking that way about humans, period.
Right.
Because I'm not getting into women and immigrants and all that, victim talk. I'm not going to get into that. But it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because if you're up to, you have high standards. If you're up there, you got to, speak a certain way. But again, he's not a political man. And that's why most people love him. But then after going through Biden, I'm like, oh my God, if this lady thought Trump was a joke, the whole world has been laughing at us.
Yeah.
And from a foreign perspective, I think we could all agree everything's gone to shit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The thing about Trump is that he cuts through all the bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Like yes, there are some embarrassing parts of him.
Correct.
But I think those are acceptable and can be tolerated because he's an open book. The man has nothing to hide. We know every single thing about his life, who he slept with, how he's eating, everything.
Yes.
And it's like a man who has nothing to hide is very powerful.
Yeah.
I
mean, they're trying to get at him at every way possible. You know what's crazy? I don't know if you think this way too, but another insight to my brain is I always do things, and I've thought about running for commissioner's office in Miami, still in the books for the future. And I thought about if I were to run for an open office, how do I look? What will come out that will be so embarrassing?
I thought about that too.
Right? Mm-hmm. You think, will my kids find out about something? Mm-hmm. But you know what the great part is? I feel just like Trump.
I don't give a fuck. Who cares? Yeah.
I literally have nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing but good things.
Yes.
So I think I've lived a good life in that aspect. And I could run for commissioner in the future or whatever other office I want to run for with, I guess, a peace in my soul that there's nothing that's going to come out of there. But it's wild. I think about that all the time. If I had to run for office as open as the presidency,
I think you'd be fine.
what would come out?
I think you'd be perfectly fine. Even if something that you didn't want to come out comes out, so be it. Let it come out. I interviewed Pompano Beach's commissioner a couple months ago. Yes.
I saw.
I think you'd be a great
Big fan.
commissioner. I think you'd be a great commissioner. Yeah.
I
think you have what it
appreciate that.
takes.
I appreciate that.
Because there is a political side to you. There is a dominant side to you. There's a visionary side to you. I can see all of it. I can see all of that. And I think that's what it takes to be especially a commissioner, because you're dealing with permits and buildings and, let's build this here. Let's change this road. Let's do this, right? it's a lot of butting heads with people and who wants what and what wants what. And I can see you being a good middle person to come in and say, okay, take a breath, relax. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. That's how we're going to do it.
And that's how I run my household.
I can tell. I can tell.
That's exactly how I run it. But yeah, it's a lot of, I like it. And the position interests me because it's very local.
Yes.
And you get to fight for things that are going to affect you personally as well. So you don't forget. You're there. And it's the same people you share a road with every day. Same people kids go to school with.
Yes.
You know, your kids go to school with them.
Correct.
Every day. Same doctor's office you go
Right.
to. It's everybody. You're giving that voice to those who are voiceless.
Yes.
And that's the purpose, at least mine.
If you ever do decide, let me know what I can do to help.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, because that would be incredible. I would love to be a part of that. Because I've also danced with the idea of going into politics. I'm not sure if I want that life. I love my life. It's a very good, peaceful life. And I also see other ways I can help people without being in politics.
Correct.
So I go through that back and forth.
Agreed. Same for me.
Right.
Do I want to be that public
Right.
about me and my children?
Right.
I'm very safeguarded as a mom. I'm big on, I don't post my children on social media. Everyone else does and tags me and I'll reshare. But I won't do it. And I'm big on protecting their identity in the new AI world.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I'm very cautious when it comes to that. And a lot of people tell me, oh my God, my kids are funny. My kids are funny. And they said, wow, you should use them. Use them in your post for the office, you know. And I got them shirts that say Mommy's Co-Counsel.
It's cute.
Adorable. Mother Day pictures to come with them. But I do try to hide them. I try to hide them to protect them.
Yeah, for sure. I get that.
You know, as a parent, it's
Of
very
course.
tricky.
Yeah.
But I play with the thought back and forth, and it's mainly because of them.
My son, who's 5, came to me the other day. He loves YouTube, right? And he loves watching these YouTube shows where it's kids playing with toys and describing the toys.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So we got him this massive dinosaur for Christmas, right? And he literally sat there and was describing the whole dinosaur. And in the end, he goes, like and subscribe.
Wow. Please tell me, you got to take advantage of his studio and for him.
I'm debating for the same reason.
Yeah.
I don't want to expose him.
The way I would do it, if you want my advice, is
Please.
I would do it just for shits and giggles. You don't have to post it anywhere.
It's true.
But that can't go to waste.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful
It
memory.
was so natural.
Yeah. You don't have to post it, but I'll tell you this, the grandparents, the aunts and uncles, the godparents, they'll appreciate that video.
They'll love watching that, right?
Yeah. And you know who else will?
He will.
Not only him, his future wife. And his kids.
Making fun of him?
Yes. You got to play it at the wedding.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great idea.
But you don't have to post it anywhere.
It's true.
Keep those memories internal.
Personal.
Yeah.
I like that.
But you got to record it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I will.
I love hearing that.
You're right. I will. Quick question for you. We touched on you touched on AI for a brief second. How do you see that revolutionizing lawyers?
It already has.
How so?
It does a lot for us. So AI has helped, example, in the immigration world, the way we've used it has been to get statistics. It helps a lot. So it's crazy. I was being interviewed at Univision.
Okay.
And I wanted to be more prepared. It had nothing to do with politics or anything, but I needed to have a deeper understanding and it involved the politics because the statistics are tied to the politics.
Right.
And
There's no way around it.
There's no way.
No.
And it would have taken me forever to get these statistics old school.
Of course.
And I just went straight to the source, Chat GPT.
It's crazy how Google is now old school, right? The old way of researching.
And I still
going page to page.
I play with it
Right, of course. But
because I have to. As a lawyer, you got to check your sources.
yes.
Trust but verify.
But God, Chat GPT.
Wow. And I went through it and I just started going crazy. Like, hey, what are the statistics of how much backlog did we have in asylums during Trump administration versus Biden administration? All right, let's deepen it. How much of that backlog was affirmative asylums versus defensive asylums?
Wow.
I want to know. Never touched upon it at the interview, had nothing to do with it, but now I know.
Yes.
And we constantly use those statistics. They're revolutionizing the way we fill out forms. Now AI, there's new programs out there. So every immigration lawyer out there uses programs that, for example, if I do an intake on a client and I put their name, their number, their age, their passport number, driver's license number, social security, A number, whatever the case may be. And then all of a sudden we're going to fill out some type of form, whatever it may be. That program is supposed to auto-populate that information.
Got it.
Into your form. So you're just supposed to go back and check and, verify
right.
that it's all correct. With AI, I mean, there's a lot of issues with that. It doesn't always translate perfectly, but with AI, it's making it better. So now there's going to be, and I keep getting emails about it with different programs and people offering their services. But the whole point of AI is to streamline that, even voice activated.
Wow.
So it's just quicker. And that's going to help the client. It's going to help the business. It's going to help everybody. Not really any downtime.
I saw a reporting that there's this software. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's saying that it's going to obsolete paralegals because it's doing their job for them.
It can, but that'll just depend on how. I guess the way I would see it as, how is that helpful? I would think of the new recently graduated law student who just passed the bar and wants to off the bat open up their own firm. I can see that 100%. I can see it. What a plus. You don't have the funds to pay someone else to do this.
So
you don't have the time.
So you go the AI route.
So you take the AI route.
Right.
Which is good. However, it's going to get to a point where you, as a lawyer, I'll never forget it. I had my law school professor tell me, trust but verify. That has been burned into me on another level. Sleep, eat, repeat, trust and verify. All aspects of life. But it's one of those, you need to verify. You can't just sign things. Because at the end of the day, it's your license. It's your name.
Right. So you might need like a junior person to verify the AI.
Maybe, if that person has time.
Right.
No one can replace. Paralegal. No robot. I'll tell you that right now. The human element that's to it is
key.
It's key. It's key. It's another you.
Right.
With limitations, but another you. And I would never change my paralegals for AI. But my paralegals use AI.
Right. As an assistant.
And we use it as another assistant.
Right.
To streamline all the processes. But even then, my main paralegal and I, we have conversations. We're such nerds about how ChatGPT got it wrong
I love that.
and how we told her the right information. I love how we said it was a her. To some people, it's a he.
Yeah. No, for me, it's also a her.
Yeah, for me, it's a her.
Yeah, for me, it's a her.
But I have a friend who says, "Oh, it's a he." I'm like, whatever.
Teach their own.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat. But I think we got to go he or her. I mean, you
Yeah.
got to call it something,
You
right?
can't go it.
No, that's odd.
Yeah, I agree.
That's very weird.
I agree.
But it's either he or her. Like your car, right?
Yes.
She's
Yes.
a beaut.
Yes.
Or, he's trustworthy. But
Some guys name their cars.
100%. Tweety Bird was a boy for me. My little, I had a
Okay.
1990 Mazda Miata in college.
Nice.
Convertible. My dad bought it for me for my 18th birthday. I'll never
Fast
forget
and
it.
Furious.
I literally was a Fast and the Furious on that Palmetto all the way to
I
St. Thomas
believe you.
University. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that offered to buy that car off me. It was a junk car, 1990. But they had the little lights that would go up and down.
Yeah, super cute.
So much fun.
Yes.
Convertible, soft top.
Good
I
for
could
you.
Take it on and off whenever I wanted. It had speakers.
The good old days.
The good old days. College.
Pre-children.
Yes. But AI, I think, is going to help out so much. The only way I see it replacing people is somebody starting new and or really large firms looking to downsize costs.
Okay.
I think that, and coming from a person who worked at the largest defense firm in the state of Florida prior to going solo, there are a lot of positions that I think eventually will go away because of technology. But at the end of the day, paralegal cannot be replaced.
Which one can?
I think what can be replaced, and not with a robot, is just adding more work to people. It's file room personnel. And that's what's been happening. to these law
Theoretically,
firms.
though, once Elon puts his army of robots out, a robot
Sell
can
that
do.
robot?
Yes, that's going to
Didn't
be
Kim
insane.
Kardashian get that robot?
She did. Well, he lent it to her
Oh,
to do a little advertising.
I wonder how that worked out.
Yeah, pretty well actually, because she is probably one of the biggest influencers.
She is.
Like lover or hater.
Yeah.
She is a huge
If you love or
influencer.
hate her, the fact that you're talking about her,
Correct. I
Speaks
think
to itself.
everyone knows who she is.
yes.
Right? And she can make these things part of the culture.
Yeah.
She has that effect. And it won't be that expensive, he's saying. I think 25 grand, you can buy a robot in like 2-3, I think he said by 27 or 28,
Wow.
they're going to be ready to ship.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, right?
I mean, great for whoever wants it. That's fantastic. I don't know how I would feel about it in my house.
Oh, I'm so buying one. As soon as it comes out, it's going to be one right here walking around the studio.
I'm creeped out.
Me too. But I'm so curious.
Yeah. Curiosity killed the cat.
It sure did. It sure did.
So
But what was the cat doing before he died? Was he having fun?
probably because he was very curious. But I don't know. We'll see. If you get one, you got to invite me over.
100%.
I'm going to be very, very creeped out.
Yes.
Very curious.
He'll serve you coffee.
I would love that. Can you imagine? Okay, we need a Cuban representative with Elon Musk in creating these robots because there's nothing like a cafecito.
I agree. They got to
It's
get
not
that
espresso.
code. No, I know. I love the Cuban cafecito.
It's in the world. Wow.
Yeah.
It's,
And then you guys have that little espresso shot.
yes.
Oh my goodness.
En la ventanita.
Yes.
You go to la ventanita and you buy it.
It's the best.
What would you like? Un cafecito. You get a little plastic cup. Woo. Better
Gotta
than
get that
5
coating right.
Yeah. Yeah, so they could replicate it. But, But then we're going to get
incredible.
into issues of La Ventanita and, stealing their jobs.
A lot of jobs are gonna go.
A lot of jobs have already gone. So you know what's wild? When I was at Universo being interviewed, I've been many times invited, and I love going, love the producers, love the staff, so homey. They make you feel so welcomed.
Good for you.
But even on your first, try, they make you feel so good. But I last went and I saw like half of the people there. And one of the staff members, amazing man, was telling me, I feel so guilty being at work today. And I said, why? Everyone loves you. He said, because I lost so many colleagues. And I said, what happened? He goes, you didn't hear? And I said, no. They laid off over 200 employees.
Wow. That's a lot.
And then I sat there.
That's a big number.
Huge. And I forgot what company just announced it too. And I was like, oh my God. Univision just did that. But you know what's wild? When you get there and you're on set. Okay, so you can look back at any old TV show and they'll give you behind the scenes,
yes.
you know? And you're like, oh, you got cameraman number 1, cameraman number 2. You know what's crazy? I was watching Gilmore Girls and I noticed the mic man messed up.
Really?
Season 1, episode 18, I think. Messed up, and the little microphone popped up top. They never cut it out.
The boom mic was hanging.
Yes,
That's so funny. Reminds me of Game of Thrones when they had the Starbucks cup.
Yes, somebody's getting fired. Well, you know what's wild? You go in there, none of that exists. It's just the main people, the anchormen and women.
Right.
One main man running the mics on and off the people.
Wow.
And running the show with a producer in the ear.
They streamlined it.
That's it. And he's like, all right, everybody step back. Camera's coming through. The camera just rolls right out. Robotically.
On its own.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I don't know if it's on its own or somebody controlling it.
Right.
But there's no more cameramen. What do you need a cameraman for? Oh, remember they had somebody holding up the sign?
Yes.
And then the big, what you're saying? Teleprompters. Everybody forgot about those. Teleprompters took over. Now cameras are robotic or at least, controlled. So
wow.
No more cameramen. Insane.
That's
now
crazy.
AI is about to edit and cut. There goes the director. I'm just kidding. But you never know.
It can get there.
It can get there.
This guy, I don't know if you saw, but this is where we're heading, right? He used ChatGPT to program a nail gun. And he can talk to it and have it shoot on his command.
Wow.
Yeah. So he had pink balloons, blue balloons, and black balloons all on a wall. And he told it, please shoot all the blue balloons. Ba, 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 ba. Like that. 2 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Insane.
We're going to get there.
We're there. I think we're there.
Yeah.
I think you arrived.
Yeah, we have.
Man.
I'm still waiting for the flying car, though.
They have some.
Yeah, but efficient
Yeah.
flying cars.
To be honest, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Don't think so?
No. I don't think flying is as easy as driving.
I mean, if we're going to tie this up to immigration, that's going to be wild on the border.
Wild. Oh, could you imagine all these flying drones crossing the border? We already have that happening.
I know. You're in my airspace, but...
UAPs, UF, whatever the fuck they call it.
Yeah, but that'll be wild.
That's your question. If an actual alien lands in this country, does immigration get involved?
I think the galactic war will start. But
An actual alien.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that we already even have a team to handle that.
I agree. Well, Trump began Space Force, right? Or whatever the fuck he began?
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk is SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those, like, they're planning something. Maybe the reptilians. we don't know what to believe anymore, but there's something out there.
Oh yeah, well for sure.
There's no way Hollywood made all these
For
movies
sure.
for no reason.
I had zero doubt.
It's happened before.
Yeah.
That's what I tell everybody. It's happened before. It's just we're seeing it now
Right.
because of technology.
It's out in the open.
Yeah.
They can't hide it anymore. It's too hard.
Way too hard. Way too hard. And I think that people are on the lookout for it too.
Oh yeah. People are curious. We
I
want to
think
see.
we always have been.
Yeah.
But information is power. And as long as you have knowledge that nobody else has, you're
Right.
powerful.
Right.
And that's really what it all boils down to, as to why we know what we know.
And don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
What they're also saying about AI is that the version we have is 1/30th of the version the government has.
Absolutely. Without a doubt in my mind, they already have Chat GPT Pro.
Oh yeah.
Why isn't that public?
Yeah.
That already exists. So what they have,
It's crazy.
imagine if they have to have some type of control,
Oh yeah.
because you can just go to Chat GPT and ask what were the files that they find at Mar-a-Lago.
Or in Biden's house.
Yeah. How
I could
many?
talk to you all day.
Same.
I am just enjoying this conversation. I'm looking at the clock. We've gone for 90 minutes.
Wow.
Yes.
Already?
Yes.
I have zero sense of time, FYI,
90
when I'm having fun. Zero
and
sense
like,
of time.
I don't want to end this conversation. I'm just having a blast talking to you.
Me too. Thank you.
Where do you see yourself for the next 5 years? Where do you want to be?
I definitely want to be in a position where I'm helping more. Whether that's my firm growing or my firm growing and being a commissioner or something like that. I've played with the thought of Air Force, JAGs.
Okay. I can
want to
see
do
it.
more.
Yeah.
I want to do more. I want to be more. I want to go down in the history books. And when I say the history books, I mean the history books for my family.
Can I give you some advice?
Of course.
You need your own podcast.
I want that so bad.
You need to be speaking. You need to be out there. You are smart. You're intelligent. You're outgoing. You're charismatic. You have a great energy to you. You're knowledgeable. You can really have an impact by having your own YouTube channel, being on Instagram every day, doing lives, posting reels, schooling people, teaching them, putting out the word on immigration, putting out your opinions, putting out your beliefs. You'd fucking kill it.
I played with that thought.
Stop playing.
I keep getting stuck on which microphone to buy. I promise.
I got you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I got you. You could even use my studio.
I would love that.
So that you are someone that I can feel your energy. I can see the power of the message that you have, and you got to stop holding yourself back. You got to unleash.
2025.
2025.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Tell the people that your camera right there where they can find you. What's your Instagram, your website, if they need immigration law assistance, where can they find you?
So you can find me at either doctora.Liannys Morgan on Instagram, or you can find us at Immigration Legal USA Instagram. You can also catch my website, which is beautiful, if I might add, and it's www.immigrationlegalusa.com. Phone numbers, you can call the office at 305-249-1090, or you can WhatsApp, text, call at 305-878-8996.
Incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leo.
I wish you nothing but the best.
Same.
Whatever you do in life, let me know. I'll be there helping, supporting you.
I appreciate it.
Guys, go follow her. If you need immigration help, please reach out. She's a person to go to. Like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.